right is out of the question.
Down with this sort of thing. Careful now. The nation holds its breath. Yes!
Hello and welcome to Friends in Low Places, the podcast hosted by middle-aged people about middle-aged people, but not only for middle-aged people, for anybody who cares and wants to listen in on a bit of banter and some good crack.
We actually do reasonably well on TikTok, which is Gen Z, is that right? Ironically enough, so I don't know how that figures out, but there you go.
I was at work about a month ago. I was in an elevator with two Gen Z people and we were chatting away, and one of them asked me, "What gen are you, Sean?" And I said, Gen X. We're Gen X, right? Yeah, Gen X. And you could see she was computing in her mind how far back does she have to go to how old is Sean exactly, roughly?
He's ancient.
He's ancient.
He's properly ancient.
She was judging you, Sean.
Yeah, exactly. I that's probably, like, since I've turned 50, that's probably the first time I felt old, you know. But otherwise, all good.
All good, Shawnee.
No, today's episode we are without Aaron, who we believe is stuck in some hardware store in Care, maybe. Probably stuck in the adhesive file. No, that was a bad joke. But no, he's unable to attend today because he has to go and cook dinner, I think. Was that what he said? Yeah.
Family commitments, yeah.
Family commitments tonight, and he's off to Clonmel later this evening. So you are blessed with the three amigos for this podcast. And in today's episode, we could be considered a little bit controversial, but we're going to talk about things we secretly judge people for. So this might get a little bit tasty as we go on. As usual, I will kick off with a bit of a statement for discussion, and then we'll look at a segment called what we think is maybe petty or fair to judge. Mike, you'll look at how the older we get, do we get more judgmental or not? And then you have a game that we will do called Judge or Be Judged, following that up with what's the biggest middle-age kind of things that we judge, or when we get to middle-age that we judge, and then we'll finish off with a kind of inward look about how we ourselves do you think people are judging the things that we do. So but let's crack on then. So we all judge people. The only difference is whether we admit it or not. And everyone confesses kind of one harmless thing they secretly judge. So I'd like you guys to tell me what do you secretly judge people for, and I'll start off with you. Just one. So you, Niall. What's your...
Yeah, I struggled to narrow it down, Sean, from 100% out.
You judge people for absolutely everything.
Yeah. So you know your line there to start. Everyone says we all judge people. It's just whether we admit it or not. My issue is, and Ashton will tell you this, is I'm well prepared to admit it. You know what I mean? So I suppose what I struggle there with, because a lot of my judgments, I don't think of them as harmless. So I trying to get one that I could consider harmless, because a lot of the judgments that I have that other people might consider harmless, I don't consider them harmless, right? So the one I came up with was people, this can be men or women, who wear too much perfume or too much aftershave. So I don't know if you've ever had the experience, and I'm saying you're actually out and about and someone passes you or is in your vicinity, and clearly they've poured either a bottle of perfume or a bottle of aftershave over themselves, but it literally goes up your nose and back your throat. So I suppose that's pretty harmless. So that's the one I settled on. But as I say, I could have had 75 more if needs be.
If you were to talk to my wife and my two kids, and you were to ask them, what does dad give out about often, it would be exactly for that. And I always am very sarcastic, particularly towards maybe my daughter. I'd say, I don't think you've put enough on. I think you should go back up and put a bit more, because I as soon as I in the hallway I can smell it. And then they say to me, "But you do the same thing, but you don't smell it." And I go, I don't think so.
Guys, like the opposite of that is BO.
Yeah.
Like, jeepers, I was someplace yesterday having lunch, and there were younger lads that came in behind us, but Jesus, I don't know, were they after running something, or maybe they were workmen? But the smell of BO that was coming from them. It's warm weather here at the moment, but Jesus, lads, would you go and wash your clothes and have a shower?
But I suspect the difference between me and probably most people, Mike, is if I was given a choice, so strong aftershave or strong perfume or strong BO. Now, I wouldn't particularly prefer either, but if I had to choose, I'd pick the strong BO.
Jeepers, I don't know. I think I'd live with it.
There you go. I agree. So, Mike, same question to you.
Well, what would I... Do you know, parking lately has been something, I don't know, maybe it's an age thing. You guys may give me some education here because you're over 50 now, I don't know, just seems lately it's just driving me cracked. People's inability to park correctly. The car's one wheel over the white line on your side, and I was in actually while I was parking to go for lunch yesterday, there was 2 parking spaces that I couldn't park the car in because people had parked poorly on both sides. So the guy on the left was too far to the right, and the guy on the right was too far to the left. So just like you could get into it, but you couldn't even open the door of the car. Like, what's going on with people? Can they not?
Yeah, I that was my first choice, Mike, but I don't consider it harmless. I picked the kids up. I picked the kids up from school most. Now the parking is a bit difficult there, to say the least, right? But it beggars belief as far as I'm concerned. To the point, so it used to upset me to such a point, like that I would actually, in a sense, confront or talk to people about it, and I had to actually get to a stage where I just saw it as silly and could laugh at it. But a few times, like I knocked on a window, and rolled down the window, and I said, "Excuse me, do you mind me asking, do you have a driving license?" And they'd say, "Yes." And they said, "Are you sure? Because clearly you can't park."
Did you get it in a lucky bag?
No, yeah. So it amazes me, yeah.
It's funny you mention that, because as you guys know from our WhatsApp correspondence this morning, I was doing the weekly food shop, and I was parked at the end of a row, and then opposite that there's other parking spaces, but the gap in between is for cars to back out and leave. When I came out of the shop, beside my car, there was this woman had parked beside my car, so then blocking where people would come around, and but there was loads of spaces free, but no, decided to park in the middle of the road rather than parking in a.
Yeah, no, it literally beggars belief at times.
Yeah. What also beggars belief, and my one is people who are not organised or prepared before going through custom checks at airports. I
feel your pain. Yeah.
I'd be like gobsmacked sometimes. Like, how many years now has the rule been about the 100 ml liquid?
Mm.
I mean, even if it's your first time traveling, everything is clearly indicated. I still see people arguing with the customs about, not being able to bring bottled water. I had one experience where I had a lady in front of me in the Stockholm airport, and she had bought a jar of jam, some Swedish jam, in the shop before customs, and it was over the 100 ml. And full blown argument with the customs, not understanding why she couldn't. Her argument was that she had bought it at the airport, therefore she could bring it through customs.
Okay.
And I've just seen it loads of times. Just like, you take off the belt, clearly marked, and you take off your jacket, it's like clearly indicated. And then you have people like walking to the scanner with everything on, like, and the guy behind is going, look at the sign. Look at the sign. Yeah. I see it like loads of times. The best I saw was a guy bringing not quite a machete, but close enough.
Okay.
In Frankfurt airport. Couldn't understand why the guys wouldn't let him go through with it. And he's like, I've spent like thousands, it cost me thousands of euro, blah, blah, blah. And you can see all the custom guys just like looking at each other going. At that same customs check-in, my daughter did have a pair of scissors in her carry-on bag. And at that point, I went mental because this goes back to, I had told everybody,
Nothing like that.
be prepared, nothing like that in your bag, and then we got there, and then she was stopped. So while I was giving out to her, the guy was coming with his half a machete. So yeah, I just find it like, it's so simple, like so simple. You just
give it out to me. So Sean, I was going through Shannon one morning and I forgot I had a multi-tool, like a Leatherman, it's like a knife and a bottle opener and a screwdriver.
Okay. Yeah.
I had one of those in my laptop bag. Totally forgot it was in there. Normally, I take all that stuff out. Just forgot it was in there. So I had to have a hefty conversation with the head of security about it. And like, it was not like they were taking it. That was it. He gave out to me.
I can forgive that because you use your bag every day. You might have something that you don't forgive that. But for someone like to argue with customs and say, why can't I bring this through? Like when
my machete on,
So that's the harmless things that we secretly judge people for. So now, next section is a kind of rapid fire discussion, and I want you to tell me: is it petty or is it fair to judge the people in the following circumstances? And I know my answer is the first one. So people who wear socks while wearing sandals.
The older I get, I can see why people do it. I have a father who loves his socks and sandals, but he's in his mid-70s, so we'll let that slide. But yeah, it's not a runner for me now.
Yeah, my own son does it.
So I didn't know that this was a thing until, I don't know, that's probably 10 or 15 years ago, but an ex of mine at the time mentioned this had been a thing. So I didn't wear sandals, as it turns out. I never used to wear sandals, but I just like, this is ridiculous. Why would anyone judge anyone for wearing socks with sandals? So she explained to me. So I decided, as a test of the relationship, I would wear socks and sandals for an entire summer, which I did. I didn't really want to wear the socks with the sandals. Needless to say, the relationship didn't work out. I don't think it was because necessarily of the socks with the sandals, but to me, that's absolutely ridiculous, as far as I'm concerned.
Phone at the dinner table.
Oh, it's a no-no.
Yeah, I think to have it at the dinner table is fine. To be doing stuff on it at the dinner table is a different thing. Now, again, I have done that on occasion when I need to do something for work or whatever, but I would say generally probably not a good idea.
Yeah. The general rule in our house is no phone at the dinner table. But you can kind of have it, but it's I think we're getting
not on it.
Not on it. But we're getting kind of worse at keeping that rule, to be honest. I find
we made the youngest lady the enforcer of it a couple of years ago, and she takes her job very seriously. And I'm probably the worst offender.
I think the next one, me and you and I are going to agree on this one. Lateness.
Yeah, I've zero tolerance for it. And I used to, one time I would, if someone was late, I probably wouldn't say it. So now I have been known to just leave. So in other words, I give people 5-10 minutes and I'll leave. So I've zero tolerance. I just think it's a complete lack of respect. Now, let me be clear. If someone is late and something comes up and they contact you and say, I'm really sorry, I'm going to be 15 or 20 minutes late because such and such happened, that's an entirely different thing as far as I'm concerned.
Lateness without acknowledgement is definitely... a no.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. I particularly at work, and working with different nationalities. It's some are very punctual, others couldn't give a flying fuck. It's quite interesting. My kids are not so punctual. That also drives me absolutely mental. Particularly if you're waiting for them in the car. Now wait till they're a bit older now.
Yeah, but I have the opposite problem to lateness, as in I need to be there extra early in most cases. So, and to the point, so like I sometimes overdo that a little bit. So in other words, I don't need to be there sometimes as early as I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. We touched on this in our last podcast. Oversharing on social media.
Oh yeah, it drives me bananas.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Why do you need to know?
Yeah. And the fact that they get up at they set the cameras up everywhere, and you can,
Yeah, but you, to a certain end, there's a difference there. So there's a sharing of kind of real life to an extent, and an authentic life, right? Which I wouldn't do it, but it's kind of, to a certain extent, fair enough. But then there's these people that present a kind of an artificial view. So in other words, everything is perfect and so on and so forth. So there's kind of two versions of that almost,
Yeah, oversharing the lifestyle kind of rather than.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be with you on that, oversharing on social media. I tend to judge people that you don't have a life.
I think it's kind of content of, this is how I'm going to do my hair today. I'm feeling tired this morning. I'm wearing these shoes with that top. Why do we need to know that?
Yeah.
True.
But I suppose if you're an influencer or something, and that's how you make your money or whatever, again, kind of fair enough to a certain extent. So I don't know. Anyway, it just wouldn't be me.
Filming concerts.
Yeah, I don't get
Yeah.
that.
I told you guys about my Bruce Springsteen experience last year.
Through the iPad, is it?
Walking head. So I was at Bruce Springsteen concert with my brother-in-law in Lille in France, and we weren't too far from the stage. We were pretty good location where we were. And to my left, you had a woman who had her iPad or her tablet, whatever, and spent vast majority of the concert filming the concert, but not filming Bruce on stage, but actually filming what was being shown on the giant screens beside the stage. So, and I just like fucking enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
But this is kind of seep through to a certain extent. So I see now with just like family gatherings or kind of stuff like that, there's a kind of requirement to be taking photos there. And I don't kind of get that. I mean, I think it's reasonable. If you want to take one fucking photo to mark the occasion or whatever, I'm okay. I'm on side with that. But needing to take 47 photos of, a bloody dinner on a Sunday with your family, to my mind, is just nuts.
Yeah.
The other one is holidays. Oh, don't get me started.
We have time. Start away.
Don't get me started. I literally fell out with someone who I had a lot of respect for in other ways. I don't really know that well, but over a 2-week period, they sent me, I would say, 70 photos of their holidays. And it was a semi-professional, semi-personal relationship. But I just I said, look, to be honest, we can neither have a professional or a personal relationship anymore.
Yeah. Holiday snaps. I remember that one.
10 pictures of the beach. Yeah.
Exactly. But I think we're all a bit guilty of that, though. A little bit.
Yeah, I am, probably.
But I will start secretly judge you if you're sending me 70 fucking pictures of
I'll send you one with a beer in my hand, sitting out looking at the beach or something.
Okay, Mike, the older we get, do we become more judgmental? Do we judge more?
Yeah, so I don't know. Do we get more judgmental? Why do we care? Why does it even bother us? What do you think yourselves? Like, is there things that, are you going around now, you're the elder statesman of the podcast, being over 50 to do you tell me, but have you suddenly decided that you're going to be extra judgmental about everything, or have you just kind of gone, why am I even, and I'm going to waste my thought space on this problem?
Yeah, so I've become less tolerant of certain things. So I talk about lateness. So to a certain extent, I put up with more lateness when I was younger.
Mm.
I put up with a lot less lateness now, and sometimes I've been, accused of being kind of, not very tolerant in that respect, and I'm probably not. But again, as I say, I don't really want that many people around me in my life that are not punctual. I just don't want to be dealing with people who are not punctual. So I've made that decision. I understand that, certainly in an Irish context, we're not great in terms of punctuality. It's going to bring me to it's there's lots of people out there that I struggle with in that respect. So,
Yeah.
So I think for me, I cut these things out of my life, or I'm needing to put up with them. So maybe that's lack of tolerance. In other areas, I think I've probably become much more tolerant.
Would that ruin your day? Like if somebody showed up 5 minutes, 10 minutes late, or didn't show up at all?
It wouldn't now, Mike, from the point of view. So previously I would have waited, and there'd be 20 or 25 minutes or half an hour late, and it would affect my day. Whereas now what I'm saying to you is I don't wait.
Yeah.
So I'll probably give them 5 or 10 minutes, but if they haven't contacted me, I'm gone. So I've moved on. You know what I mean? So it doesn't really, whereas before it would ruin my day to an extent. Or at least ruin some of it.
I think in a sense for me, I'm now like that as you keep pointing out, we're the elder statesman, Mike. That I don't worry about being judged.
Yeah.
Anymore. I used to give a lot of my brain energy to thinking and worrying about that when I was younger. But I am a little bit more judgmental, but I'm good at keeping it to myself, I would say. Which is what I don't know, excuse me, whether that's a good thing or not, but I mean, I just, people with not a good work ethic these days, I just, I don't have time for them. And people who complain, I tend to be a bit judgmental about their outlook on life. But then I don't dwell on it, I don't let it ruin my day, but I do tend to make a judgment on, what this person is kind of like.
One thing I say, I'm much more inclined to give people information about me much quicker now, to give them what they need to make those judgments. Whereas before, I possibly would be less, and it's not just personal now; it's also professional, right? So in my professional environment before, customer was always right to a certain extent, and I took that type of approach. So I work really, really well with certain clients and certain companies, and not so well with certain other companies and other clients. Whereas for now, for instance, when I'm working with a client, I'll give them the warts and all version of myself very, very early, so that they have the opportunity to decide he's a good fit for us or a good partner, or he's a bad fit for us and a bad partner, because my style will certainly rub certain people up the wrong way, but for other people it will work kind of very well, And it'd be the same in terms of, like, a few times now, someone has taken a shine to me in a personal capacity, and I'm kind of going, that shouldn't be happening. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So obviously, so if someone takes a shine to me and I'm going, they shouldn't really like me or want to relate, I'll go over and in other words, I'll remind them of all of these things, just to make sure that they have the necessary information, so to speak.
And I also think there's kind of a fine line becoming a bit more judgmental and becoming a cantankerous old bastard.
Well, I think I'm veering into the cantankerous old bastard.
but
I know a couple of cantankerous old bastards, I could tell you.
But the more cantankerous I've become, that has coincided with, I would say, an overall increase in my general kind of happiness and contentment. So I don't know if that's a correlation or one is, but definitely when I'm much more kind of, I suppose, strict in terms of what I let into my life and who I let into my life is a better life proportionately.
And is that experience or just age, do you think?
It's a bit of both,
Yeah.
Mike. It's a bit of both. So, I mean, from a business point of view, again, if we take that as the example, I can afford to be honest with clients now. 5-10 years ago, I couldn't afford because I needed all the clients. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I suppose, again, it depends on where you're at. Similarly, you know, I have lots of good friends, so I don't need new friends. So I could be quite selective there in terms of letting new friends in. Obviously, if I had little or no friends, I expect I'm going to be a little bit more needy in terms of friends, etc. You know?
Like, and for personal side of it, like I always say to our guys in the team, it's our job to tell the customer. It's their job to do it, right? So
Yeah.
customer isn't hiring you to blow smoke up their arse.
Some do, though, in fairness, or some would like that type of relationship.
Maybe they're looking for something different, or they need to work with something different.
Yeah.
And do you think, is there things that you were probably in your earlier years sort of more understanding or less understanding, but now you kind of understand why they were like that when you were younger? Does that make sense? Like, what would you have judged people for when you were younger?
Yeah,
or
is
would
there
you
things
judge
that
them
we
at all?
judge people for back then that, in a sense, now they seem like that they were over the top or ridiculous types of judgments? I think when you were younger, you gravitated a little bit what you perceived as popular people, but popular people weren't always necessarily the best people to be kind of hanging around with. Certainly when it came to relationships, and again, I won't go into the details of this, but I think so an independent woman who has her own interests and all of that type of stuff is a very important thing to be able to just, I would say, be in a relationship with me. And I probably, I wasn't able to properly see that. So in other words, I didn't necessarily end up with those types of women because I didn't know how to kind of read that in them, so to speak. So I suppose, so Ashin is very, very independent, has all of her own interests, but it works fantastically well for both her and me, you know?
And like, is there certain things that you've stopped judging people for because you've become that person? So, you know, things like I think we've spoken before about going to bed early, especially midweek. I think most of us are in bed by 10:30 sort of thing. Driving slowly, I'm prone to this certainly myself, where, you know, I have about a 40-minute commute to work every day. And sometimes on the motorway and people are blasting past you. I'm traveling at the posted speed limit or whatever it is. And 10 minutes later, you meet them and you're overtaking them again, but you're not increasing your speed. So, say on nights out, even, so the Irish goodbye, where people just slip away at the end of the night and don't say they're gone, you know. Like, is there, I suppose, things like that you've stopped judging people for because you've become that slow driver, or you've become the person that goes to bed early?
Well, for me, if it's not, maybe not those examples, but I tend not to judge people anymore on the why they're doing things. If, like, you know, if someone doesn't stay in contact, or, you know, there's probably no reply or whatever, then, you know, before maybe my 20s, I would have been like, this motherfucker, after everything I've done, or you know, what have I done to say that whoever is that?
You get very caught up in is it fair or unfair? Do I not? So in essence, you kind of go, well, you know, I treated this person in this particular way. They're not treating me back. It's not fair. So I'm being kind of hard done by. And you get very caught up in that.
Yeah.
Whereas I think as you get older, you go, well, look, that's the type of person that they are, or whatever. It is what it is. So be it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And if I don't get invited to something, or like now, I just fine, whatever. I don't care. I'm quite happy. Like, you know, some things I still might judge a little bit, and I go, interesting. Yeah,
it's gas. I in the sense now, if I don't get, you know, people have FOMO. Fear. I have whatever the opposite to that is. I have that. I don't quite
the love low
I know
love
what that
of
is.
missing
But one
out.
of Aislinn's friends got married there a little while back, so they were like ourselves, a little bit older, a small venue. You know, lots of people to invite. So for a certain group of friends, they weren't inviting partners. So when I heard that, I was never so fucking delighted. I was like, this is brilliant. Do you know what I mean? So I have whatever that is. I have that. I will say something. When I was younger, I couldn't go to bed early, even if I was wrecked, and I mean wrecked. I could not go to bed before 12 o'clock because I was like, I just can't do that. It's just, whereas now I'm quite happy to go to bed at 10 or 11 o'clock. But again, as I say, I would stay up with my two eyes falling down my face till 12 o'clock when I was younger rather than go to bed early.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, thanks for that. I think maybe it's just a case of it's not that we've become less tolerant, it's that we're maybe a little bit more honest.
Yeah. I have become, if there's one thing as I got older, I've become a bit more judgmental on is effort made by people for doing things. That I'm quite, it kind of maybe ties in a little bit of work ethic, but effort into doing something or doing something voluntarily with a lot of effort without having to ask them to do it, if that makes sense.
As in working off their own initiative, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. And doing it for the benefit of others. And that I absolutely love. And when I ask people to do things, either personally or professionally, and it's there's an argument against, or it's too much of an effort, or what's in it for me type thing, then I can become quite judgmental and go, well, you're interested in doing things for yourself and not for others. Like that fucks me off quite a bit, I have to say. Yeah. So I can be quite judgmental, borderline cantankerous on that one, I can say.
Yeah. When I would have expected, so I thought common sense was common.
Yeah.
Which is one that tripped me up for a long number of years. So it took me a fair while to realize that even though it's called common sense, it's not that bloody common.
Yeah.
No.
And once I got my head around that, because the common sense thing used to wreck my head a bit, but once I got my head around the fact that common sense is actually a rarity, then the dealing with the lack of common sense became a much easier thing to. So I don't expect common sense nowadays, whereas once upon a time I did expect common sense, and that, again, as I say, created frustrations for me.
And that, I don't think that's going to get any better, to be honest with you, because I think technology and AI and all that is taking away from people having to think for themselves.
Yeah.
A bit,
I mean, yeah, I found AI by comparison to be certainly much more commonsensical on average than the average human being. So at this moment, I'm with the AI on that one.
Very good. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up at that. Thanks very much.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Niall, we are going to play a little game. Judge.
Okay, yeah. So we're going to turn this around on ourselves, guys. So judged or be judged. So I think we're all kind of old enough and bold enough and trust each other and know there's no kind of animosity or any of that type of stuff, so we can be as. So I want us to think about stuff that we do, right, that other people would potentially judge. So we'll probably do one or two each, and then we'll get the other guys to judge it. So it's either normal, mildly worrying, or we'd absolutely judge you for it. So something that you do, Shawnee, that you'd be aware that other people would judge you for.
I have a couple. Opening a new bottle of sauce when the last bottle of sauce is not completely finished.
On purpose.
Yeah. So I don't have to finish.
Why?
Because it's hard to get the end of the bottle of sauce out. So I just...
so you just decide to open it up. Yeah.
Open a new one. So there's always two bottles of whatever sauce. My kids have followed me in my footsteps for that, and drives my wife absolutely
I'm with
nuts.
Serene on this one, Johnny, I have to admit.
Yeah. It's, yeah.
Okay.
So
what do you think, Mike? Would that bug you, or would you be okay with that?
Definitely, I think I'd be with Serene on that one. Drive me cracked, because there's nothing worse, really.
Yeah. So in my fridge, you'll often see multiple bottles that are not quite finished, and then one that's like just opened.
Okay. Do you have another, Shawnee? We'll try and get two if we can think of it.
I think I've mentioned this on a previous podcast before. I avoid parallel parking at all costs.
But that's just because you don't consider yourself great at parking, no?
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
But I think under those circumstances, it's a reasonable enough thing to do. So rather than attempt the parking and park badly, you park somewhere else, no?
Yeah, but then, I people in my family tend to judge me on my. I don't have the patience for people driving up behind me waiting for me to parallel park in. Like,
Okay, so I'm just under. I think. I mean, ideally you could parallel park or you practice it or whatever. But to my mind, it's actually a considerate thing to do under those circumstances. I wouldn't at all judge you for that. In fact, if more of the people at my kids' school parked somewhere else, I judge them. I'd say they're better people proportionately. Mike, something that you do that other people would judge you for.
This is mild, but humming or whistling to myself.
When you say, but in what type of situation, Mike? In what type of company?
Everywhere. Whether
As
I'm
in
at
like
work,
at work and so on.
whether I'm at work or whether I'm at, my boss says to me, he knows I'm coming before I arrive.
Okay.
You know, so I don't know. It's just something I do. I don't even realize I'm doing it.
But like if you were watching a TV program or something with you, or you're at the cinema, I'm assuming it wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't. No, not when I'm with people. If I'm walking around the house or I'm doing a little project outside at the moment, and I'll be just humming something away to myself. Don't know why. It's just something I do. Maybe it's a self-soothing thing that I do that I don't know.
Well, so what do you think? Mike comes over to stay at your house for the week, Shawnee, and he's spending all day, every day, or the most of the days humming or whistling. Would you judge him? Would you not judge him? Would you be okay with that? Would you not be okay with that? It drives you cracked.
Nah, yeah, he would a little bit. Like, you know, I like my silence. But you know, whistling is usually a sign of someone's in a good mood or content. Do you whistle on the way to work? Is that what you're saying, Mike?
I don't know.
Do you have a shovel over your shoulder like that and singing?
I know it's after work. I go.
I think in fairness, Mike, I think that's kind of nice.
Yeah,
in
it
certain
is.
situations to a certain degree. I suppose it's to a certain extent it depends on the situations and to what degree. So my daughter sings, for instance, on occasion it's nice, on occasion it's annoying if you're trying to watch something on the TV or whatever. You know what I mean? Another one, Mike, that other people would potentially judge you, and that's a safe enough. Whistling is a safe enough. So
it is, yeah. Probably another safe enough one. I'm probably a little bit OCD in some cases where my wife gives out to me about, you know, in the press I'll have all the condiments, all the jars, the labels facing out, things like that, and it drives me cracked when you look into the press and everything's turned the other way. You know, what do we even have? I know that's fairly mild, but I'm great. I don't think there's anything anybody would give me a hard time over.
I would be judging you too harshly. So I'll give you two, and I go on ones that drive Aisling mad, because that's really all I have to go on to kind of a certain degree. So I have become. So there was a time when I would say vain, or I certainly was borderline vain. I was heading in that general direction. Let us say I have become the complete opposite to that now, in the sense that there's zero, to the point I don't really care what I look like, which drives Aisling around the twist, because her point of view would be on it that, you know, when you look well, when your appearance is looked after, when you dress well, you feel well. Whereas at this stage, I'd go so far as to say if I was dressed up, I'd feel worse than when I'm dressed down. So what do you think? As people who are, I would say, proportionately a lot more stylish than I am.
I had to say, I did judge you a little bit on your wedding day when you, no sooner had I turned my back or I'd gotten a second beer, that you were already out of your good digs and into a blue jeans and a white t-shirt, and I was like, geez, that was quick. So I was like, oh, you could have stayed dressed up for a little bit longer.
Yeah,
I have to say, I did have a secretly judge you there for a few minutes at your wedding.
And you know what, Johnny? I find that entirely reassuring.
Good. I'm glad you do.
Okay. So yeah, I can see the point to a certain degree. Again, this is one I'm not going to change on, and I'm probably going to go more in the other direction. The other thing is, I'm always fairly honest and very direct to a large degree, but often in social situations, right, I would hold back. So there'd be someone over there and I'd know chances are me and that person aren't going to get along, or there's the potential for us not to get along. And once upon a time, I would either try and avoid that or I would make social niceties or whatever, right? And eventually we would, in a lot of cases, we would end up having some type of mild disagreement to some. Whereas now if I spot that early, I intentionally go and do that at the very start. So in other words, if I sense I'm going to fall out with someone, right, I have the falling out as early as I possibly can so that I don't have to do all of that type of stuff. And again, that's one that drives Aisling a bit around the twist. Now, sometimes I have to balance it up. If it's one of her people or whatever, I'd say, look, I'm not going to do that here. But if it was my own family or stuff, I probably would do it. And I have done it.
Why does it bother you?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Say
I was
again,
going to say, why does that even bother you, Sean? Or now,
it doesn't bother me, but what I'm saying previously, I would let it bother me. So, in other words, there would be someone in my vicinity, and I would be at an occasion or something like that, and I would have to interact with them because it would be the socially expected thing to do. Whereas now, what I'm saying is, I will have a disagreement with them very, very quickly, so that I don't have to do that. So, in other words, I will finish the relationship quickly on purpose, so that I don't have to kind of interact with them going forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay. So you don't prolong the agony per se.
No, I go in for I go in, I do it. You know, again, there are certain exceptions if it's on action side or something like that, but I will say something to, I wouldn't say upset them, but to get under their skin a little bit quickly.
Yeah, I mean, we could judge you for being a bit of a dick for doing that, I suppose, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think
I'm quite happy to accept that.
Yeah. Exactly. And
if I got that vibe from somebody, sorry, Sean,
no.
Crossing over. I'm just going to say, I thought, if I thought that of somebody in a professional or social setting, that somebody didn't like me, I'd really go out of my way to get in front of them more, just to irritate them that bit more, you know. So
if I had that feeling, I would just completely ignore and just wouldn't entertain the fact of.
Yeah, but and sometimes in those types of situations, you kind of have to, because you know someone and they know you. Know what I mean? It's an almost expected thing.
Yeah, I would just give very short answers to any questions or discussions, and wouldn't engage myself really in it.
Yeah, that's Aishling's approach. She knows how to have a conversation that's a non-conversation almost.
Exactly.
Okay, so finishing up then, folks. So biggest middle-age judgments for you guys. So what judgments kind of do you have now that you didn't really have back in your 20s or 30s or whatever it is? What's come more to the fore, so to speak. And let's kind of go with one each. So starting with you, Mike, this time. So something you judge people for in your middle age that you probably didn't when you were kind of 20 or 25.
From a business setting, a thing that annoys me a little bit is, this is no reflection on you, not, is dressing for the occasion.
Okay.
In a corporate setting.
Yeah.
I don't know, do I fully agree? Maybe I'm a bit old school when it comes to, I don't know, do I fully agree with the jeans and t-shirt, canvas shoes, guys, CEOs, MDs, whatever.
Yeah.
I think if you're leading an organization, you need to look like you're leading the organization,
Yeah, the dress down for work has been very much, I would say, driven by the tech sector and tech sector CEOs. So I totally, I fully support it, right? But the point is, I definitely, I hear what you're saying in terms of that. So I come from a sales background. Effectively, when some of the first jobs I was in, I was suited and booted,
I'm not saying you have to have a shirt and tie, but at least have a shirt. And shorts, especially as you said in the tech industry, it seems to be a case of once the summer starts at all, it's how long can I stay wearing shorts for, which blows my mind a small bit, but
yeah. And you would banking in, as a for instance, Shawnee, you would, I mean, to the large extent, there would be a dress code expected in your industry, I would suggest.
Well, it's been watered down. It's the tech influence has come in. Like, you don't, in my office, you don't have to wear a suit and tie. It depends. If you're customer facing, yeah, you'd want to be pretty dressed up, or if you're, senior branch management or whatever, yeah, you probably you dress well. I mean, you should look okay, but I can, if I want, quite easy. I wear jeans every day, jeans and shirt. I mean, I was like you, suits and tie for best part of 20 years. But now it's a bit more relaxed, like, and it depends who, maybe if I want to have a meeting my boss, maybe in a city centre, then I'll dress a bit more appropriately for that. Like, it's come back to your point, common sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like casual Friday seems to have extended into the 5 days a week at the moment.
Has, yeah.
Okay, same question to yourself, Shawnee. So something that I suppose you judge people for now, or more inclined to judge people for now, that you certainly didn't judge or even think about back in your kind of early 20s.
I'd say, again, revolves more on a professional perspective. People would hanging on about their title.
Okay.
It's a big thing in our industry. Assistant vice president or assistant associate director, or a lot of people, particularly young people, deem it quite important to have that title, and because they might think it brings something extra to how they are perceived by other people. Whereas, before I would have bought into that. Now, anybody who harps on about the title that they have or the title they're going to have, quite quick to kind of judge what their motivation is or strategy is, and what's important to them, and is there actually anything behind the work that they do, if that makes sense. Like, to give an example of where I work now, it's an extremely flat organization, and which I like quite a lot, because then when it's a flat organization, there's not a lot of titles, and when there isn't a lot of titles, then there's not as the opportunity for people to talk down on someone who might be on a lower level. Whereas where I've worked in other organizations where it's title at every level, and if you're associate here, you cannot talk to a VP here, and whatever the VP says goes, and blah, 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 and all that. So So yeah, that's something kind of that nowadays I tend to judge, be a little bit judgmental or about people who say my name is blah blah blah, associate or assistant vice president or managing director, or it doesn't bring weight to me anymore.
One for me, again, I don't really, and we all look at the consult speak in most industries, but these people that use, I suppose, big words to hide the fact that they don't necessarily know what they're talking about. So one time, particularly if they were reasonably senior, right, I would be slow to call that out. Now I just call it out. You know what I mean? So again, in a professional kind of setting. So I'm going to give you two here and again, they're kind of opposite sides, certainly. So, and I don't know if these are necessarily Irish things. They're probably not Irish things, but they're certainly, to a certain extent, are Irish things. So the first one is gossip. So people who gossip about other people. I saw that as a kind of a harmless thing in my 20s. So if there was someone and they were a bit of a gossip, I wasn't particularly interested in myself, but I didn't necessarily see it as a negative, whereas I have very little tolerance for it nowadays. So I will tell someone I'm not interested in gossip. I don't want to be having that conversation, right? And the other one is begrudgery, which are kind of opposite sides.
Yeah.
I've no tolerance for begrudgery in people either, which again is somewhat of an Irish thing to an extent, I would say. Okay.
I couldn't agree more with you, Niall. I really couldn't. I've zero tolerance for gossip.
But again, once upon a time, I wouldn't call that out in other people.
No.
Whereas now I will, and I'll probably do it quickly. So I'll say to someone, look, you're coming across as a gossip. It's obviously something you enjoy doing. Not interested. no point in having those types of conversations with me. Similarly with begrudgery, I will say to someone, you're sounding like you're begrudging. Again, I'm not interested in those types of conversations, so you're better to speak to someone else. Okay, before we finish up then, folks, if we were to talk to your friends and family, etc., what would they say you judge people? So not from your own point of view, and is there anything that's irrational that you judge people for there? In other words, you judge them for it, but you know really you shouldn't be. All right, starting with yourself this time, Mike.
Well, definitely people's parking, I suppose. I don't know, just one of those things. I don't even know why it annoys me, but it does at this stage. But I think that for sure would be one thing that would be said.
And that's reasonably rational. Anything irrational, so any judgments that you have of other people that you nearly prefer that you didn't have them, they don't necessarily make sense.
Nothing jumping out at me. Maybe the in the professional setting, the casualness of some people.
Okay. Shawnee, same question to you.
Of course, I would never say there's nothing I judge that's irrational. It's all rational in my mind that I'm judging on.
Okay, but do you know deep down? I can give you one that I know is irrational in a second, but anyway.
I don't know. Let me think. I give your one and let me have a think.
Men wearing sunglasses. So wearing sunglasses to protect your eyes from the sun is an entirely reasonable thing to do. That's rational, right? There is also people like to wear sunglasses because it makes them look cool or look better. To a certain extent, that's okay. However, if a woman is wearing sunglasses and the sunglasses are protecting her eyes and they're stylish, I'm fairly okay with that. If I see a man, I struggle with it. To the point, and this will tell you how ridiculous this is. So I've judged other people on stuff that's fairly legit, but if I was in a social setting and there was a guy there and he had a stylish set of sunglasses on and we were getting friendly and he seemed like a nice guy and we had things in common and so on and so forth, I'd be like, I don't think I can go here.
Yeah, we're like wearing sunglasses indoors.
But that's
not.
That would just and jewelry and men too. And I've had jewelry in the past, so this is totally again. I struggle with jewelry generally, with jewelry with men. So I'm a little bit sexist against men when it comes to sunglasses and jewelry, if I'm being honest about it. And that's irrational.
Is that earrings or big chunky gold chains? Or?
No, it's not. It's just the notion of jewelry. I can't. It's like putting pillowcases on pillows. How we haven't moved past jewelry is just, I just don't get it. Like people go out and spend €2,000 on a stone because someone decided that stone is more valuable than some other stone. It's just like that to me is as big an example of lacking in common sense as you possibly can get, but a lot of people engage in.
Yeah, that's fair. I've got a couple. I do this quickly. People who use the elevator just to go up or down one floor.
Okay, as in rather than take the stairs.
Yeah, drives me fucking insane.
But if they went up 2 or 3 floors, it'd be okay. Is that fair?
2 floor minimum. That would be my.
Okay. So, yeah. Okay.
All right. That would be my one. All right. Well, let's leave it at that. Thanks a lot, guys. And I'll leave you with this quote from the great philosopher Carl Jung. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves.
Very, very good point. Yeah.
All right. Take care. See you guys.
See
you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Suppose a ride is out of the question.
Down with this sort of thing. Careful now.